Hey, cool dude, can I play too?
It's only a one-player game.
Well, then how come it says second player score?
This is the inaugural Second Player Speaks podcast. We have no idea what we're doing right now, but we're going to give it a shot, and hopefully we'll learn as we go along, but we're just going to have fun, and we hope that you have fun as well listening to us figuring it out on the fly. So Kyle's phone, or no, Dan's phone just went off. Does he need to get that?
Just mute your phone, I guess.
Yeah, well, no, this is unfiltered. We're going to try to be as unfiltered as possible here. Like this is what you get. This is when you sit in on a second player score practice. I mean, this is what you would hear. We're going to try to be as real as possible. This is what we talk about, in between songs after we've had a couple of beers. And so we're going to try to keep this as real as possible. So anything that you need to respond to there, sir?
No, just my mini console showed up.
Oh, well, hey.
Yep.
Well, that's good news.
We'll have a new video coming up shortly.
I think we can just call it a day. Good night, everybody.
Yeah.
All right. No. So what we're gonna do in this podcast, we're gonna try to attempt to do anyway, is cover our three main favorite subjects, which is rock music, pop culture, and craft beer. Maybe not necessarily in that order. We're going to try to stick to that, but we'll see how it goes. And I'm sure this is going to kind of evolve over time. So we'll start with rock music. So last week, Kyle and I, we went up to, where did we go up to?
Auburn.
Auburn. Yes, Auburn, Washington, to see the Misfits performing with Glenn Danzig, the original Misfits lineup. And it was at the, what was the amphitheater called?
White River
Amphitheater, which is a beautiful venue, by the way. I mean, just gorgeous. So it was the original Misfits, and opening for them were the Cro-Mags.
Cro-Mags, yeah.
The Distillers.
And the Damned.
Yes. And and it was a fun show. I kind of I don't know. I probably had too much to drink. But so I was kind of like, not making it through the whole thing. But it was a good time. I loved the venue. All the bands were great. I think Kyle might have something to say about it. So,
well, first of all, excellent concert. I enjoyed every bit of it. I had heard of the Cro-Mags before, but never actually heard them. And I specifically did not listen to them ahead of time because I really wanted to just hear them for the first time there at the venue. And man, they were amazing band. I knew of the Damned. I already knew I liked them, and the Distillers were good. And of course, the Misfits, no question. But one of the things that I noticed throughout the show was that, when we first started with the Cro-Mags, I'm not even sure that amphitheater was half full. And by the time the Damned started, it was a little more full, but still a lot of empty seats. And I was really surprised. I'm like, man, I sure thought that tickets would have sold better than this. And it wasn't until about halfway through the Distillers, suddenly, you see these throngs of people like trying to find their seats. And the whole place fills up. And so Brian and I were like, just alone in our row. I mean, like 20 seats, and there's just me and Brian. And then all of a sudden, boom, everybody fills in. And so I'm out of curiosity. I'm like asking people next to me, like, so, hey, so why was it you just showed up now and like you didn't show up at like the very beginning of the show? And I'm thinking, I worked today, but the earliest I could get here was this, but I just, there's no way I wanted to miss the Misfits, and so whatever. No, I'm hearing people like saying, well, I don't really know who these other bands are, so I just figured I'd show up, in time to see the Misfits. Like, what? I mean, because we've heard all the bands we ever need to hear ever again in our life, and there's no reason for new music. Or hey, the Misfits are great, but I heard that they're real shit at finding other bands, and they have like shit bands that play ahead of them. So why would we want to go see these bands? Seriously, the tickets we had, like we were pretty much in the back right before, the grass was there, and it was like $130 a ticket. I mean, it ain't cheap for seats that far away. So obviously, like seats ahead of us were even more. And you're gonna go and just watch one band? Dude, $130, I'm going to watch every goddamn band that is going to play that day. But I'm just astonished that people would not show up for the other bands. And we noticed this even at our level, at the local level. Like, people will show up, they'll be like, you be like, hey, man, so I'm going to be doing a show next weekend. You should come out. Yeah. What time you playing? Oh, we're the third band on, probably about 10 o'clock. Oh, okay. And like literally they will show up at like 9:50. They'll watch you and then they're gone. And that is like the rudest shit I have ever experienced. Like, go and watch. I mean, what is the problem with going and seeing a whole show? I mean, how bad can this be? It costs you the same amount of money. It's not like you have to pay for each band individually. It's just there. Just go and watch all the bands. Well, what's the danger? Ooh, I might find another band that I like, but apparently I can only like so many bands, so that means I'll have to get rid of a band that I know I already like to make room for this new one. It doesn't work that way. God, like, show some backbone, people, and some adventure, for Christ's sake.
So what you're saying is that, okay, so if people told you that they weren't there, I mean, they came late because they had to work, whatever. That's one thing, and that's
a reason.
Okay, but if not, like, otherwise, they should be a little bit more open-minded and like kind of try to check out bands that you've never heard of before, and who knows, maybe you might find a new favorite band or something like that, right? That's kind of what you're saying?
Exactly what I'm saying. I mean, you really stand to lose nothing in this whole venture. So why not at least go? And I mean, everybody, like anyone who's in a band, you want people to go word of mouth, because what is better than word of mouth than to have somebody listen to you, like what they hear, and then go out and tell their friends, because their friends are then going to be like, oh, well, John said that this band is fucking awesome, and I like the bands that John listens to, so I'll probably go listen to them. I mean, it's what you want as a band members, people to go and talk about you and recommend you.
Right.
Well, the Misfits, the band that you paid to go see because you think that it's so awesome, right? I mean, obviously, they're legends. They're basically suggesting to you these three bands. Like, these three bands, we think that these guys are so good that we're going to have them travel the world with us and open up for our shows.
Right.
That's not a recommendation enough. I mean, personally, I think by not showing up, that's kind of disrespectful to the band that you want to respect. It's like saying, oh, well, I really like your guys' music, but your opinion is shit. Fuck you.
Right. Okay, so let me ask you this. Okay, so have either of you guys had an experience where, like, maybe you went to go see a band that was a headliner, but you went to see the opener and you actually ended up like liking the openers, some that became one of your favorite bands? Let's has that ever happened with you?
Oh yeah, totally. I'm trying to remember which one. Been to a lot of shows.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I went to the Snowball back in '98
at the Portland.
Yeah, and there is, I guess, the headliner at that point was the Violent Femmes. And that was the whole reason I went. I didn't actually buy tickets. I had a friend that was going to go and knew that I liked the Violent Femmes, and so that was the whole reason I went. I knew of Cake at the time, and I knew of Garbage at the time. They were a couple of bands that were there. I did not really listen to them at the time, but I became huge fans after a huge fan of both bands after I saw that show. They were great. I became less of a fan of. There was this a band called The Flies at the
Oh yeah,
time.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
They were
yeah.
the first band that night, and I became kind of less of a fan because they, like, the end of the night, they've done well all night, and then they decide let's end on a cover, and they decide to play Crazy Train. Okay, if you're gonna pick a song in which the guitar solo basically is the song,
Oh no.
you should probably know how to play it
Oh, no.
note for note. So, like, because this guy did not know how to play it note for note.
Oh,
And
wow.
he basically kind of winged it and barely got through it. And it literally ruined everything. For, like, that's the way that they ended the show, was everybody kind of, ew,
Yeah.
I'm not so sure about this. So, but yeah, that was a show where, you know, like,
right, so
for me,
you were
Garbage
introduced-
and Cake. Oh,
Yeah,
man,
okay.
I became huge fans after that.
Okay, cool.
Oh,
All
I
right.
remember. It was
So
the Breaking
point-
Benjamin show. Yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
Because like they were the headliner, but then I've never heard a single song by Five Finger Death Punch, and they came out. I mean, the guitar player is like 60 feet in the air, there's confetti going off and everything, as if they were the headliner. I'm like, holy crap, these guys are awesome. Then he also came up with Bad Wolves. I became a fan. Then bought like way too much swag, like $300 worth of swag at
Okay.
the booth.
All right. So these are bands that you discovered as a result of going to a show for a headliner
Oh,
that you want to see.
I knew
and-
of them, but I was like, okay, they're known for a cover, Zombie. Okay, great.
Okay. All right. Well, cool. So we're gonna try to move on because I think for our inaugural podcast, we don't want to like be talking for 2.5 hours. We're gonna try to
But
keep
we
it.
could.
We could, but we're gonna try to keep it to a manageable length so that like people who don't know who we are, which is like probably most of everybody, will like, okay, like half-hour podcast. I'll check it out. I'll see if something I like. So let's move on to the next subject, which is pop culture, which I think we were going to talk about The Boys, right?
On Amazon. right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the show on Amazon, which I have to admit, I was actually not familiar with the source material, which is because it's an adaptation of a comic book.
Mm-hmm.
I have to admit, I was not familiar with the comic before I saw the show, but now that I've seen the show, I want to check out the comic because the show was very good. It's very watchable. I really enjoyed it. But what did you think of it?
I liked it a lot. I felt like it was. It could have gone wrong in so many ways, like, and I know we've talked about this a little bit before, that it fit a bunch of Hollywood stereotypes of like failed shows.
Kyle's phone's going off.
The never-ending.
You can get that. You can get that if you want. Oh,
Yeah, I got it.
it's just an alarm.
Yeah, it's just an alarm.
All right.
It fit a bunch of these stereotypes of shows that would not be successful, like common tropes that just, typically will make a studio just go, no, we're not going to do this. They won't even film it, but so enjoyable. And I was like looking at it like, why was it so enjoyable? And I think that they took things even a level further. Like you had DC Comics originally, and DC Comics was great. But you had these unbeatable characters, and they were super nice, and they were always doing the right thing, and they were unstoppable, and it was actually kind of boring, and that's why people felt like Marvel became so big, was because you had characters that had feelings and that had anger and conflict, like personal conflict, and it was more real, right? But even at that, you still have, like, maybe you have somebody that doesn't do like the right thing, but they do it for the right reason or whatever. There's still something there that kind of they're a step above like regular humanity. But when you got to The Boys, these were superheroes that were just like any other humans, but just with superpowers. Because you look at like what was the lead guy, Mr. fucking Fantastic or whatever his name was. I cannot remember the
Trump looking dude.
the Superman,
Yeah.
the Superman
Yeah,
counterpart, right?
Right.
he was literally what I would think would really happen if you had like a human that had superpowers.
Sure.
The guy was completely drunk with power, and he did things to only satisfy his own desires and needs. And of course,
Homelander.
He would Homelander. That's
Yeah,
right.
Homelander.
And he was,
I'm like
you know,
Googling it right
the
now.
guy was.
I beat you to it.
Damn it.
My memory is faster than your phone.
But the guy is like a complete mess, because of all the testing and stuff that was done on him as a kid.
Right. Oh, by the way, spoilers. We will have spoilers in this podcast, so sorry.
Well, if you haven't watched The Boys,
we've already
you may
spoiled
wanna
your
stop
experience.
listening.
It's too late. It's too late.
You know, right? So, but
It's short.
I mean, this literally is what I think would really happen if you had that. And then you have like Starlight, right? Here's a girl. She really wants to use her powers for good, but she could, like, I think she's they've kind of hinted that she has like powers strong enough to actually battle Homelander. But she just hasn't, she's just not that good yet.
Right.
But she truly wants to use her powers for good. And so she goes and figures, hey, I'll become part of the system, and I will go and then have my platform to do all these good things. But what she then finds out is she has to play politics and money. Like, it's all about the image, because she has to have the image that they want her to have, so that way, people will buy into her brand, and that way they can have the political affiliations that they need to get the power, and that's what it's all about. But here's the scary thing: probably a little too close to home. I think that's really what it is like. And so she and I think that's why it's so easy to watch, is because you're seeing her like suddenly realize, holy crap, I wanted to go and help people. I'm not helping anybody.
Yeah.
All I'm doing is now I'm a brand, I'm an image.
Right.
And she starts fighting against that. But I think what's so scary about it is how real that is. I mean, how many inventions do you think got totally fucked in this world because it didn't fit with what the people that had the money wanted?
Sure. Right.
And it got stifled and squashed, so that way the image that they wanted to portray would not be tarnished.
Right. Yeah. And I think another reason why the show works so well, and I'm coming at it from a writer's level, which is that I think they had a lot of conflict. Like, every scene is full of conflict, like characters conflicting with each other. Like, the good guys are fighting each other, the bad guys are fighting each other.
Right.
Every scene is full of conflict, and then that's interesting, and it propels it forward, and you're just kind of riveted to watch that, because it's interesting. And I think they did that. That was when I was watching, I was like, I really took note of that. I was like, wow. I mean, I think they did that better than a lot of other things that I've seen, where every single scene is just packed with people arguing with each other or fighting each other. And it's a good storytelling device. It's a good, from a literary standpoint, it's a good way to keep the story interesting and active and moving forward, and like compelling, that makes you want to watch it. So I think they did that really well. And I think they knew it, because when you look at the little logline captions, like for each episode, I can't remember exactly what it said, but one of the log lines was, and conflict, lots of conflict, like as if they knew that's what they were doing.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah, totally.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Yeah, there's very little downtime in any of those episodes at all.
Well, they're finally holding like superheroes accountable too now. So it's like, what happens when one screws up and runs through a person? I mean, that happens.
Right.
There's collateral damage. It's like, remember that old movie Hancock with Will Smith?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like that, but more real, like real world problems.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And so
and how they spin it too.
Yeah, and the way that people's lives, because they're just one of the worker bees. Is not worth as much as like the superhero, like the guy that what was his A-Train? Right? A-Train.
The Flash.
So like he goes and he gets all jacked up on their whatever that drug was.
Oh,
and
yeah.
was it like fucking Agent C or something like that? Anyway,
Yeah,
so he
something.
gets all jacked up on that stuff. he goes and runs through this woman and basically explodes her into like just this bloody mess.
Oh yeah, he swallowed her molar. I mean,
Right?
yeah.
So, and they're not even worried about the fact that he killed somebody. They just tried to use their money to squash the whole thing, so nobody would ever hear about it. And of course, when her boyfriend just wants an apology from the guy, he won't apologize because his lawyers have recommended that he not, because if they apologize, then they're admitting guilt.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
like, seriously, I mean, we've all just been relegated to legalities. Like,
yeah. I
human life
hated
means
that.
nothing itself. So,
Like that PR lady, I hated her more than the Homelander.
well, and she paid for it
She sure as hell did.
with her
Oh
eyes.
yeah. All right. So I think we're on to the last third of our first podcast here. So we're going to talk about beer, one of our favorite subjects, and today's subject beer is the Wolf Pup Session IPA by Golden Road Brewing out of Los Angeles, California.
And no, this is not sponsored. This is truly us expressing our feelings about this particular.
Right.
Please
Yeah.
sponsor us. Please
I
sponsor
mean,
us.
yes, we would take a sponsorship gladly.
Did I sound like I was like reading it off? Did I sound like I was doing
No.
that?
But I just wanted to let everybody know there's no impropriety here. It's truly us just saying we really like this shit.
It's a session IPA. That's hard to
But,
find.
you know, but if I did sound like I was reading it like an advertisement, you know, we're open to sponsorships in the future.
Yes, and well, and did you see yesterday? I posted up on Instagram that punk rock equals PBR, but pop punk equals Wolf Pup. I truly believe that, man. Like this is the PBR equivalent.
What kind of reaction did that get? Or
Just people seeing it and liking it. It Instagram's weird, man. It's like people just fucking like shit. You don't know if they really like it or not.
Sure,
It's just like,
sure.
oh, there it is. We'll hit it because it came into my feed. But
right.
yeah, I mean that's truly the way that I feel. I think that this is the PBR equivalent. It's like the step up.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I like it. Well, for one thing, it's cheap. It's like at my local Fred Meyer, it's like $13.99 for a 15-pack, and so that's hard to beat.
What? That's even cheaper than what I paid for it at Walmart.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh yeah. Nope, dude. Right
Shit.
down
Looks
the
like I'm going to
street.
Fred Meyer after this. Jeez.
Right?
And it's an ale. I like ales. Like I mean lagers are cool because it's still beer, but I prefer ales to lagers. And so this has the right flavor. It's kind of I'm not a beer drinking expert as far as like all the things where you say like mouthfeel and all this kind of stuff. Like I don't understand all that terminology. I just know what I like. And this is it's a good beer. It's easy to drink, and I mean so yeah, I don't know. I like
it's
it.
only like 4.5%, so I
Right.
mean, you can drink a few of them and not be like blotto. And the thing I like about this too, it's a good like middle of the road when it comes to IPAs. Like I know a lot of people immediately don't like IPAs just because IPA is too hoppy, blah blah blah, right? But I like an IPA. But this is a good like middle of the road because like my wife does not like IPA. She is not down with that. So last week I wanted to see if she would like it because I'm like, this is tame enough. I think that she would not mind it. And so I just poured a beer, handed it to her, and said, "Here, take a taste of this. Let me know what you think." Man, she took a drink and was just like, "Wow, this is really good. Like, I would drink this, And then I showed her what it was, and she couldn't believe that it was an IPA. But yeah, I think it's great.
Nice.
Like I, as an IPA drinker, am not disappointed. I don't feel like I'm getting
Right,
gypped on
right.
the bitterness and,
Yeah, me too.
and the bite.
Yeah.
But it's obviously smooth enough that somebody who would be offended by that, like they drink it and do not even know without being told that it's an IPA.
Sure.
I've had pale ales that are more offensive than this thing.
So what is mouthfeel? Tell us what is mouthfeel?
Heyo.
Mouthfeel is like Okay, so you know when you have, let's say, like a wheat beer and it's real crisp. It's almost like water. You know, you take a drink and it goes down real quick. It's real crisp, but there's no like feeling in your mouth. I mean, not really. I mean, it's just your mouth felt wet for a second. You swallowed and it's gone. Whereas when you drink like a stout, you drink it and it almost feels silky, like on your tongue and in your mouth and stuff. It almost like it's more viscous, and so it feels kind of silky or smooth. It's because you use let's say like flaked barley or whatever, and that adds, I believe. It's been a long time since I've been at this level of explanation, but I believe that there's proteins that get added.
Oh.
Yeah, it literally makes a more viscous beer. So because of that, it's almost like it's like heavier per se or more dense.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you drink it, it gives that silky feel as you're drinking it. And like for me, like I'm a huge eater and drinker when it comes to textures. So I love a good stout because it just feels good when you're drinking it. You know, it's like when I was in college and I'd get really super high. I would not eat the entire can of Planters cheese balls because I was hungry. I would eat the entire can of Planters cheese balls because the crunch of it felt so good.
The tactile sensation.
Right.
Yeah.
You know.
I do those with those Frito twists. Yeah.
So, but obviously I don't have to be high to enjoy textures when it comes to eating and drinking. And so that's the difference. So, but like in the summer, that's why I like an IPA or a pale ale, because there is that much lighter mouthfeel. You don't want that, especially like this past summer where it wasn't so much hot, but it was so humid. Ugh,
Right. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And so a nice crisp beer really tasted good. But now, you know, coming in, it's getting colder now and everything. You know, a good stout, man, it just tastes so good. It's almost like hot chocolate. You know, like when you drink hot chocolate, not only does it taste good, but it feels good when you're drinking it. You know, and it's the same difference.
Gotcha.
It's like the difference between drinking Kool-Aid and drinking hot chocolate. They feel different.
Oh, it's silkiness.
Okay.
Kind of.
All right.
Oh,
All right.
cool.
All right. I think I got it. So.
Well, I learned something. Hey, check that
There
out.
you go. So yeah, I think we're just about coming up to the end of our first, our official Second Player Speaks podcast, and at this point, I'm gonna insert a little commercial. Like if you know, we are actually a band. We actually do play music, and you know, so if you're curious about our music, like, you know, check us out. Our website is secondplayerscore.com. Or, you know, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Reverb Nation, SoundCloud. We're on everything. So did I miss? I'm sure I missed a couple things.
Basically,
That's pretty
if you can listen to music on it, we are probably there.
Yeah. So so you know, if you're interested in hearing what our music sound like, go check it out. If not, that's fine. Tune in next time when we hopefully have another episode. And so if you've been listening to this podcast for this far, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah.